It's probably fair to say that pretty much everybody who is a fan of Transformers adores the Titan known as Omega Supreme in one form or fashion. But does that still hold true when Omega Supreme is itty bitty? Maybe everyone needs a little Omega in their life. Well, we're about to find out when we dive into this version of that Titan in the latest GotBot True review. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. I'm your host, your most humble host, Dennis Moulton, aka GotBot. As always, please like, comment, share, of course, subscribe. And while you're at it, please hit that notification bell. It helps me out a ton and it lets you know when content of all kinds goes up here on the channel. Check out Machinery of Man, The Everything Factor, Transformers Collectors NL, and the Autobot family. Have a look for me everywhere across social media. And this is a very small, diminutive, tiny version of Omega Supreme, and amazingly, he kind of comes with a ton of stuff, a bunch of different modes, though one of them I'm not a particular fan of for a particular reason, and just the fact that this tiny thing can transform blows me away. Is he going to be for everyone? Absolutely not. He's definitely very niche because he's so tiny, but it's kind of brilliant what was done here. How brilliant? Well, let's head over to the table and take a closer look at this guy. And this adorable little thing goes by many names. It is the... Okay, I want to make sure I get everything in here that it could possibly be. It is the Iron Sentinel Mech Fans Toys Mech Soul MS-11 Mini Sentry. It's a little tiny Omega Supreme. Now, just how tiny is this thing? Well, if you are familiar with offerings from Mech Fans Toys, and you know those weird little cubes that come with those weird little kind of Diaclone mechs inside, this is pretty much one of those with extra pieces to make it Omega Supreme. For something that might be a little bit more understandable and relatable to a lot of people, here he is next to an Earthrise micromaster, so he's about micromaster sized, except he turns it, into a base, right? Now, he does come with some alternate parts. I'm going to show them in a minute. And not really instructions, but you'll see what I mean. I will give this guy some marks, but we're going to look at the other pieces first. He comes with two of these yellow pieces. I thought they originally went on his shins as like his yellow Shin Guards that Omega Supreme usually has, but no, they are alternate feet. He has gray ones on him, but you can change them out for these yellow ones if you prefer. If you don't want his shuttle arms, you can go with two of these, one for the left, one for the right, and just give the guy regular arms. If you give him regular arms, there's also a spare blaster piece, and that just fits in his hand like this. Pretty straightforward. Now, that being said, there are two blasters, and the other one currently is on his back. It serves to hold the backpack together, basically, but only one of them are needed back there. What am I talking about when I say the other blaster's in his back? I mean in between these two pieces sandwiched here, you can see the other blaster. It holds on to two gray pieces that are technically the bridge parts of Omega Supreme and, of course, his track pieces. But that's not all that this guy comes with. No, as a matter of fact, he comes with an entire other character as well. That's right. If you wanted a version of the G1 medic known as Doc, then hey, they got you covered. Here's a version of Doc. He does not transform. The head goes left and right. No up and down, but it can go all the way around. Shame it's no up and down. The shoulders, they can go all the way around as well, out to the side. We have 90 degrees, maybe a little over 90 degrees at the elbow. No bicep swivel that I can discern. We do have a waist, which is very nice. We have legs that do super duper high kicks, and they can go all the way back as well. His legs can do the splits forever. No thigh swivel. 90 degrees at the knee. The ankle moves. But It doesn't seem like there's any thigh swivel. It doesn't seem like there's any bicep swivel. And here we have Doc next to the other iteration of Doc that a lot of people know. This is the version of Doc that came with Wei Jiang's iteration of Omega Supreme, best known as Ultima Guard. And if you're wondering about size here, the Wei Jiang version of Doc is roughly about the height of a traditional Voyager. When I say traditional Voyager, I mean something like Fall of Cybertron Blaster or Generation Thrilling 30, Springer, something around that height. Not the new Voyagers, the good old Voyagers, you know? Fall of Cybertron, Soundwave would be another example, or Sandstorm. He's about that height, so you can see here just how tiny this version of Doc by McFan's Toys is. To be fair, both of them are pretty great. Obviously the Wei Jiang is a bit bigger, and it does kind of fake a couple of like swivels for the bicep and the leg that the smaller version doesn't have. But honestly, both of them are pretty great for a character that was seen all of what? Once in one scene? So I mentioned that I didn't have instructions per se. No, you have this. And it shows a back-on robot view of the robot, and then it shows like your traditional base view. It's tiny, I guess you're just supposed to figure it out. It shows you an alternate base, actually two alternate bases, and then it shows you even some more alternate base modes. By the way, you might notice a little tiny red piece here. That little tiny red piece is actually the barrel of the cannon that his head is, like, you know, the cannon barrel that's on the back of his head. That's what that is. Depending on the transformation, the configuration you use, that does like to pop out, and trust me, it's nothing but a nuisance to put it back in. And of course the real star of the show here is our diminutive Omega Supreme. Let's start giving a few grades. First things first, right off the bat, when we talk about Doc has a zero force transformation. It really doesn't apply. The character never transformed, neither does the little plastic representation. The paint is perfect. It's 10. It looks exactly like it does on the animation for the brief time that he is there. The white is where it should be. The red is where it should be. The gray is where it should be. Even his blue eyes are where they should be. So, great start, a 10. The articulation, despite not having a thigh swivel or bicep swivel, what it does stupendously well, and I'm still going to say that it's a solid 8 for the articulation. Overall, Doc is a 9. I mean, he doesn't transform, but he didn't on the show, and there was no indication that he even had an alt mode. So, a 9. Even if you're not in for this Omega, Doc might be enough for the price of admission. In terms of Omega himself, the coloration here is pretty darn close. The upper body, for sure. Now granted, we have 4 claws on his claw hand instead of 3, but they are orange. The head is right, the yellow and the red on the chest is right. It would be nice if the lower legs had the yellow on the shin, but I understand why that's not really possible. I suppose that might be why they give you the option of yellow feet, so that you do have the yellow breakup down there. Nevertheless, there's no mistaking that this is Omega Supreme. I'm going to say that it's a solid 8.75 for his color. Just for fun, here he is next to what many might call his big brother. This is Wei Jiang's Ultima Guard, and you can see our little lad down by his foot. So with an 8.75, we can go into the articulation. And the articulation for this guy, well, there's not much really at the head. The little thing on the back wiggles. The arms, they can go out to the side. They can go forward. There's a little bit of an elbow. I guess a little bit of a... Is there a little bit of a swivel there? Like, yeah, there's a little bit of a swivel, kind of a bicep-y type of swivel. The legs go out to the side like that far. They can go well forward. I can actually go well back. There is a little knee. There's an ankle forward and back. All things considered, like considering what this is, there's no waist, right? Surely there's no waist. No. Considering what this is, like, it's, you know, it's better articulated than Micromasters. I don't know. I guess for the articulation, for what it is, I'm going to say it's an 8. Why not? We'll say it's an 8 because something this small, I've seen things a lot bigger that don't move as well as this thing does. Just saying. So we have an 8, we have an 8.75, I don't know, let's say right now he's getting an 8.35. Doc's already getting a 9, not bad if you ask me. In terms of transformation, well, we begin by taking that off, and we're going to take the rest of this out. We have all of that taken out now. I guess we could also remove the 2 arms because they're going to be able to give us our shuttle piece, and we're left with the body. We're going to do the shuttle first. Fun fact, when I took the arms off, I accidentally took off the entire ball joint from the elbow with it. The ball joints actually stay in there, and these 2 pieces slide on over. Once you have them off and the ball joints back out and put back on the actual robot body, you'll notice we have 2 little tabs on the side of the blaster piece here. There's 2 little notches on the side of the claw piece, and these 2 just slot together like that. It gives us our little shuttle. It's as functional as any Omega shuttle, I guess, is. It will stay like this for the duration of the rest of our time together. For the record, this is what I mean. I was supposed to leave the ball joints in the elbows. My bad. I gotta put back in there now. You can see coming down where the forearm should be that we have just a couple of little, I don't know what you call them, a couple of little tabs. They're what the 2 shuttle arm pieces slot on over. I mean, you could use the regular arms, but if you can do shuttle arms, do shuttle arms. Then we have 2 of these pieces. Now I'm doing this one just so I can remove that. That's that other blaster. We saw that blaster earlier in one of the hands. That's the other one that was used for the back. Now we just pick that piece off, this one here, and we take this track piece and we can now, I presume, there you go, open that track piece out. You'll notice that each end of the track piece here is different. And the way that they attach in is different. So what we're going to do is attach this piece in like that. So now what we have left, well, what we did is we used the 2 teeth and attached it in there. Now we have this hook left, and the other one also has a hook left. That hook goes up under a little slot right there so that you can take the entire track and put the entire track together. And it looks something like this. And this is beyond adorable. Shut up, you know it is. That only leaves the body, which they do in different configurations, a la those sheets that I showed you earlier. And here is the first configuration, and probably the one that most people will use. All we've done is we've taken his shoulders that were out on the side, we've folded them in, and we bent them at the elbow. The back of his head faces like an artillery cannon, and we have his legs just sort of bent up. And if we want to, we can now take the shuttle and we can lay the shuttle, I don't know, right there, say, and then we can take the entire track and put down over like that, and we have a dandy little Omega Supreme. But that's not the only possible configuration. Then you have this configuration where you open up the chest. The problem is you pop this out of the back of his head and it's a bear to put back in. When you do it this way, the lower, really what you're doing, it's so strange. The upper body is what is flipped down such that it's serving as like a base for the rocket to sit on. The lower tummy is what's flipped up top. And then the hips go down on a slider on the back, and you kind of put his legs behind him and point the toes out. And that's sort of how you get here. If you don't know what I'm talking about by the slider, let me show you that. In right there. The hips slide in and out on a slider right there. And so finally we come to the third mode that he can pull off. All we did here was lay him down on his tummy. We took his arms and we butterflied them onto his back. And we bent the elbows. And then we took the hips and we pushed them up the slider. So now the hips are kind of halfway up his back. And then we basically just sort of like opened the legs, bent the knee, and then straighten out the foot behind it. It looks like that. Again, you can take your shuttle and put it there, and I guess you can, oh, I might have to put this down first. There, like that, and you have another base. I like the first and the third modes the best. I don't like the second. I don't like that it pops out his little thing on the back of his head. That's a nuisance to get back in because it's such a small piece. But like, here you go. Sadly, there's no tank. There's no way really to pull that off. But it's a dandy little base all the same. Even if it does look, you know, a little odd because here's a micromaster next to it, and the micromaster's off the screen. So that can tell you how tiny this base is. It's definitely niche. It's definitely quirky. The transformation isn't hard. It's kind of amazing that something this small can pull off not one, not two, but 3 base modes technically. It's not hard. I'm gonna say, I don't know, 10 for the transformation, I guess. Overall, between him and our guy Doc here, I really like it. I think that this is, again, about an 8.75 or 9. Doc's about an 8.75 or 9. If you're in for this really small, kind of super deformed sort of thing, then this is good. Objectively, it's good. But I think subjectively, a lot of people will say, I don't get it. I don't understand why this itty-bitty thing is there. And you know what? That's a fair criticism, too. And here we are once again, and here he is. And what's not to like, man? I get it. The size is small. Like, a lot of people are, it's not going to be for everyone, but it's really sort of amazing how the engineering works here. They took the mech that a lot of people have known, and they ended up kind of adding bits and pieces on and remolding certain parts so that, you know what, we get a little Omega out of it. That, again, you could open up his tummy and chest. I didn't mention this, but you could open it up and put one of those little mech drivers in there. In terms of like the name of this guy, like Mech Fans Toys gave it a kind of a really long, complicated name. And I think it's Mech Fans Toys. But the end result is really nice and really functional, right down to his little claws being able to open and close. The articulation is impressive for something this small. More impressive than a lot of the original or official offerings that we get for characters around this size. And the fact that it can actually transform in a multitude of ways is fantastic. Now, the one way that I showed you that requires the I guess the tank turret piece to pop out of the back of his head, I don't like that one. Because that's a nuisance to put back in. Sometimes it's harder than other times, but I don't want to have to struggle with something this small to put that back in. So, honestly, the first and the third configurations that I showed are my personal favorite. Let me know what your personal favorites are. What do you think of this little guy? By the way, before we get out of here, I do adore the fact that he comes with a version of Doc. And it's a really nice functional Doc that would probably fit in quite well with other kind of Legends-ish size characters. He's still going to be small by a comparison, but I think that he'd scale fine enough with them. Anyway, as I was saying, let me know what you think about this guy and Doc for that matter. You know, I love to hear your thoughts on these little guys. I appreciate you coming by and giving me some of your extremely valuable time. I know how important it is to you. If you haven't hit the subscribe button already, please consider doing so. If you're in a position to help the channel to grow, there's a donate link down in the description. Don't forget for a moment that somehow, some way, each and every day you do make a difference. Right now, please make smart choices for you and everyone around you. And I look forward, man, to the next time that you and I get together to have another visit, either in the live streams on Thursday nights at the stop motion premieres or the old-fashioned way right here inside the videos.